Howdy. I'm going to walk you through some websites for GDPR and compare it to our own privacy law. If you see here, I've gone to a government website, .gov, and it's for the Department of Justice, and it is on, well, if I can move it, the Privacy Act of 1974. But let's take a minute and look at this. It's the Department of Justice, talks about the Privacy Act, and it has a great deal of information here. And if you are onto this, you'll see the E-Government Act of 2002, which is the FISMA law we talked about. Now, if we want to find out about this, and by the way, just because it's 1974, it has been modified, we can look, and they have organized this into a law so we can understand the whole aspect of the 1974 privacy law. And I would suggest that when I'm through with this video, you take some time to look at this. So for instance, it gives us the introduction and background, why it was passed, okay, gives us the legislative history of how it worked its way through Congress. It talks about the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, and how they will put out circulars. And you just look here, puts out guidelines and circulars in the executive branch. Then it will tell you definitions. Remember, in an early part of the semester, I said the laws will typically have definitions. And what's interesting about that is try this again. When it defines something, it's going to give you the definition, it's going to give you the reference, and it's going to give you comments. And as you work through the definitions, it's going to be quite lengthy sometimes on how those definitions have been interpreted by our courts. Here's the second. Definition of an individual is a citizen of the United States or an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. And it quotes 5 U.S.C., United States Code, the particular sections. And then it gives us this whole commentary. And in this commentary, we have court decisions, Raven v. Panama Canal, for instance. We have their references. In other words, this is a very exhaustive, detailed explanation of the 1974 Privacy Act. So if you thought you had a civil case through this, you could go through this website and check it out and see what the chances are that it would be successful. And it goes through the different definitions, none of them being the word privacy. So let's go back to where I got on this page. That was under definitions. It defines agency, individual, maintain, record, system of records, and the like. Okay. Then it defines conditions of disclosures to third parties and the rules, no disclosure without consent. And then, of course, some exceptions, right? Need to know if it's FOIA, which is Freedom of Information Act, if it's routine uses, if it's a census, statistical research, and on law enforcement, debt collection. So you have some exceptions to that. Then it has agency requirements. So each of these are federal laws on agency requirements, rules, civil remedies, criminal penalties. There can be a criminal action under the 1974 Privacy Act. Again, exemptions, My point is, we have a law that we have spent a lot of time in the United States developing a website to inform citizens and legal residents what their rights are. Now, let's look at the GDPR law. Here is their website. Bear with me a moment. There's nothing easy about this. Okay. Here's the website name up here, eugdpr.org. It has a series of things you may click on. It talks about this in data privacy regulations. You can come here and click on the key changes, which I've talked about in another video. Ask some questions. And let's look at the law. So you can look up here, the regulation, controversial topics, the process, more resources, which when you click on that is where you come to the agreed upon text. So I would take this document here, which is the law released April 6, 2016. And this is how the law is presented. So I'm going to scroll down. There are no hyperlinks. It has the regulation. It has the text, the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union. It talks about natural persons. It gives references to some directives, but it is basically just the text of the law. Ugh, stop it. So I'm going to ask you to look at this on your own. But the difference is between this and the Privacy Act is the Privacy Act is much more better organized. Now, when I was preparing for GDPR a few weeks ago, I did find another site, and at first I thought it was a government site that organizes it along the lines of the Privacy Act. But unfortunately, this is actually a consulting company's website, Intersoft Consulting. But here it does tell you the different chapters. It is linked to where you can jump through it. And to the left here, it has the articles, 95 articles, organized. This is the website. What I'd like you to do is to spend some time, at least 10 minutes on each of the 3 websites, and go through these and see the points that I made. Thank you.